Hey everybody, Cinephile Mike, your friendly neighborhood cinephile is here, and it is day 85 of Award Season Review Season 2. Can you believe it? We are almost done. We're starting to get into that home stretch. We are in short week. Our short week where we're looking at the shorts. Yesterday we looked at the nominated documentary shorts. Today we are looking at some of the highly commended documentary shorts that were among the 15 shorts that were shortlisted for the Oscars but did not make the cut. Now, again, for my box office pundits, there is no information for me to report as box office information on shorts is generally not made available. So, let's dive right into it, shall we? First up, we have Andrew Nadkarni's Between Earth and Sky. Shortlisted for the Oscar, the film was also nominated for two Critics' Choice Documentary Awards, one for Best Short and one for Best Science or Nature Documentary. Now, this film is an intimate portrait of world renowned ecologist Nalini Nadkarni, who studies trees in rainforest and rainforest canopies to see how these trees survive ecological challenges. However, not only do we see her presently engage in her work through spy shots and interviews, talking head interviews, we also learn through archival footage and interviews the earlier days the challenges that she had in life that pushed her to do what she wanted to do, that pushed her life in the direction it did, and possibly the worst, overcoming a tragedy that could have ended her work. I won't specify what it is to avoid spoilers for anyone who may want to see this, but the parallel tale of survival for both Nalini and the trees is a very engaging watch. Additionally, the camera work is exquisite, especially when we get to see the sweeping shots of the forests Nalini is in, whether she is on the ground or up in a tree. There's also an interesting scene where Nalini visits the tragic events of said event that happened in 2015, and, well, let's say some of the evidence still exists. This is a solid four-star documentary that is stunning to look at. If you would like to see Beyond Earth and Sky, as of this post, it is currently streaming on PBS. Next up, we have Robert J. Lyons and Jeremy Workman's Deciding Vote. In addition to its shortlist, the film did win 4 Best Documentary Short Awards from several different film festivals in the season. The deciding vote reflects on the difficult decision made by Democratic New York State Assemblyman George Michaels, who was the final vote that made a large impact on the country in the 1970s. I keep this a little spoiler free for anyone who may not be familiar with this individual. Yet, this documentary is very timely. When a controversial bill was put to vote, Michaels, a man who was constantly reelected by his constituents, promised to vote one way in order to satisfy the people, regardless of how he felt personally. His family, however, on this issue felt differently and even said, when you vote, we respect you, but don't let your vote be the one that, makes it or breaks it. And in an almost cinematic version, that is what happens. Will he vote for the people or will he vote for the family? The documentary, told through archival footage and talking head interviews, we see the history of this bill and the ramifications of what happens when his vote is cast. In its short 20 minutes, it plays like a mini suspense film and presents the portrait of a man who the viewer can decide if he is a hero or a villain. For me, Deciding Vote was a strong 5-star documentary. Now, if you'd like to watch this one, it is streaming on the New Yorker website, or you can also right now catch it on YouTube. And number 3 we have is How We Get Free. Number 3, How We Get Free. A little rhyme there. Geeta, Gandbhir, and Samantha M. Knowles' film, in addition to its shortlist, was also shortlisted for Best Short for the IDAs. How We Get Free is the portrait of modern day abolitionist Elizabeth Epps, who, over the course of 2 years during the pandemic, Colorado based, Epps is the founder of the Colorado Freedom Fund, a community bail fund to help those who can't afford their bail. This work, meaning a lot to Epps, is reflective of when she was profiled and wrongfully arrested herself and had to see how the system was and treated those who couldn't speak for themselves and do what they needed to do pre trial. Told through the use of talking head interviews with Epps and others, as well as spy shots, the documentary also includes several cell phone videos recorded by Epps, one from when she was arrested in 2015, and others that she filmed sort of selfie videos when she was posting her bonds, her bails at the beginning, and referencing the conditions with which all of this was happening. This also includes footage of other cell phone video captures when she was leading protests in light of the George Floyd murder during the pandemic. Now, as a result of this work, Epps is guided now into a different work, which I will avoid for want of spoilers. But this, again, like my previous one, is a solid five-star documentary worth viewing, as it shows how an individual wants to give back to their community, like yesterday's The Barber of Little Rock. Now, if you would like to watch How We Get Free, it is streaming exclusively on Max. Now, we have Ramin Bahrani's If Dreams Were Lightning Rural Healthcare Crisis. Looking at the healthcare system and lack of insurance, medical materials, and hospitals across rural communities in the United States, this documentary tries to shed a light on the challenges and um, the few that are trying to assist with this. Many hospitals in rural areas across the country have closed and residents have no support. The documentary primarily focuses on talking head interviews with many of the patients who do not shy away from voicing their opinion of how let down they feel, that they struggle to get and keep jobs but don't have the proper insurance, and many even refuse to seek medical treatment because they know they can't afford the bills. As patients share their stories, you see how the frustration grows and how all they want to do is take care of themselves and their families. And while there are those who support, like Dr. Teresa Tyson and Dr. Paula Hill Collins, who travel to rural areas in their large mobile clinic bus, in a renovated tourist bus, and a few clinics that have popped up here and there, it isn't enough to support the needs of the country. And we will see that this will lead some people to extreme actions. Now, this is a strong look at a need for the country. However, for me, this documentary is only 3 stars. Again, while I appreciate the message and I'm not trying to diminish it, I know that they're trying to shed light on the circumstances, but I would have liked them to have spoken with either some elected officials or some additional people that were fighting to solve the problem. It felt a little bit that this documentary kind of leaned more one side than showing both. However, to each their own. If you would like to see If Dreams Were Lightning, Rural Healthcare Crisis, it is streaming on PBS and also on YouTube. Now, finally, we have Justine Martin's Oasis. This film was nominated at a few festivals and did win one award for Best Short at a, at a festival elsewhere. And like yesterday's Nai Nai and Waipo, Oasis is an intimate look at another pair. Specifically, we are looking at the fraternal twin boys Raphael and Remy Cormier in France. These two brothers do everything together, whether it's going to the state park, going on a paddle boat, stand up paddle boarding, swimming in the lake, catching baby frogs. You can tell that these two teenage brothers truly care for one another. However, this is not always done in the easiest of circumstances. We learn that Raphael, or Raph, has a disability that the documentary does not define, and we see that it is impacting his growth and development. Regardless, this will not separate the brothers despite the feelings of others. Told through a majority of spy shots showing different moments over the course of about a month or so, we have a few talking head interviews where each brother shares some information. However, they don't share too much, and the documentary, at such a short runtime of 12 minutes, it's a little too short to land the impact that I feel the filmmakers were trying to get to. So for me, Oasis is just another 3 star documentary. But if you would like to see Oasis, it is currently streaming on the New York Times website. So there we have it. Again, I don't do an overall rating. Each film had their individual one. All in all, though, I will say that all of these, for the most part, were a solid set of documentaries. And in my opinion, there were a couple of these that maybe should have received the nod in replace of the ones that did. That's not my call yet. Tomorrow, I will be moving on to the live action shorts. As always, if you like what you heard here, please subscribe to the channel and spread the word. Let's get everybody in on all the cinematic goodness. You can follow me, Cinephile Mike, on all social media platforms and on Letterboxd. It's going to be great. We're going to have the moves post Oscars. I'll be talking about that next week. But until then, this is Cinephile Mike saying take a break and watch something new.